Hello and thank you for watching. In this short film I'm going to continue to work on this travel journal page that I started on a day in Lyme Regis. I actually did very little whilst I was in Lyme Regis because I was working. All I actually drew was the top horizon line and the little buildings in the bottom right. But I did take lots of photos, and then when I was at home I started to draw and I got to this stage. So to begin with, I wanted to knock back the white of the page and I wanted to bring in some of the colour that I saw, primarily or initially the colour from the beach huts, which were pink, yellow and blue and really pretty. So I just began by taking some chalk pastel and then smudging that on my finger and wiping it across the page in streaks. You'll find that later much of that colour disappears, but to begin with it got me going and got rid of that white. And then I went over some of those beach huts with the coloured pencils as you've just seen. My next thought was to add some more imagery to the page, and you can see in the middle there that I had a big gap. So I didn't manage to take a very good photo of the harbour whilst I was there, so at home I googled Lyme Regis Harbour and found this lovely aerial view from above which provides a really strong shape, and I decided that that would be a good one to include in the middle of my drawing there. So here I am just using an HB pencil just to sketch it in, trying to be accurate but not worrying too much because I know that I'm going to be probably adding a lot of colour and extra layers to this page. I really like to build up my travel journal and art journal pages from different source material, whether that's drawings in the moment or photos or things that I go and look for on the internet, or perhaps some writing and some lettering. So rather than drawing a whole scene or review, I find this method really good fun. I like to build up a composition and I like my page to tell a story of my time or of my experience in that particular location. So as I copied from this aerial view image, I was really struck by the colour of the sea, but also the shape of the ripples or the line of the ripples that I could see going kind of diagonally from bottom left to top right. So I decided to try and incorporate some of that look into this drawing. So you can see that I went in again with some chalk pastel, some just kind of lovely dark sea green chalk pastel, and now I'm using coloured pencils again and just experimenting with starting to make these sort of wiggly lines. Some of them have got a kind of tighter sort of wave to them, others are a bit looser. Here I'm using the side of my pencil and now going over with the point. I am also pressing hard, or I'm varying the pressure that I'm using to then get a more variety in my line. And also what I like to do with something like this is that I'm using this line also as a kind of compositional device because it's helping to connect the page together in between those elements of drawing by putting these lines in. It's starting to help to the viewer to kind of see the whole page. So you'll see on the left hand side of this page I've got some drawings that I've put in of some line drawings of some buildings in Lyme Regis. I thought quite a bit about this and I decided that I wouldn't sort of fill those shapes in and make those buildings look too sort of realistic. Instead I drew from that image, which was just another aerial view of the beach, and I put in a little bit of drawing which it looks like I've rubbed it out a little bit on the left hand side, but it is still there very faintly. And what then I've gone on to do is to colour in some of those lovely wavy lines that I created, and then decided that they were looking too dense perhaps. I wanted to break them up a bit, so then that's when I went in with my rubber. And now I'm filling in, well, making those beach huts a little bit darker in between the rubbings out that I made. Now adding a little bit of colour to those beach shapes that I sketched in. And I forgot to film this little bit here, but I searched for another image of kind of rooftops and harbour scenes from Lyme Regis, because I wanted a bit more architecture on the right hand side to balance it on the left hand side. And I've sort of drawn in just some simple shapes of the rooftops, and you can see a little bit of the harbour, which I'm just going over with a slightly darker line here. So I'm always adding elements, trying things out, then leaving it be and working somewhere else on the page, trying to kind of allow the composition to build and to sort of evolve as I work across the whole page. If you've ever been to Lyme Regis, you'll know that their street lighting is in the shape of these beautiful ammonites, and that's what I'm working on now. So both of these seashell shapes are the ammonites from the street lights. I've drawn in the full street light in the bottom left, and now I'm using that as a guide to finish off the drawing that I'm working on there. And I decided to do that because I think I just kind of forgot to finish it off, and then I thought actually this looks a bit odd and it might be nice to echo those shapes, so we've got a pair of them, so there's like a connection between the two of them visually. So I'm just copying from the one that I've already drawn. Not being afraid to rub out when I need to. And something that I really like to do is to add some writing to my art journal or travel journal pages. I love the combination of writing and drawing, and I also like to use some of the shapes that I create on my page to put the writing in. So often my writing is just very factual, and here I'm just describing what I was doing in Lyme Regis on that particular day, and I'm using a technique that I learnt with sketchbook school about 10 years ago, and it's called continuous line writing, which means that you write and you don't. When I'm in Lyme Regis, I can't help but think of one of my favourite books, and it's which is Persuasion by Jane Austen, and I think of the moment when one of the characters, Louisa Musgrove, jumped off the cob, expecting to be caught by Captain Wentworth, and wasn't. So what I did at this stage of this travel journal page was that I went and found my copy of Persuasion, and I found the section in the book where this incident happens, and I wrote it all out using a pink felt tip pen. And you'll see that what I've done is that I've used some of those wavy lines that I drew at the very beginning or earlier on in the drawing, and I've added the description, copied out the paragraph from the book within those wavy lines. It's probably not going to be very legible, but it doesn't matter. It's just another kind of layer of reference or interpretation that I've included on this page. So now you'll see that I've added a little bit of colour to the left hand side, to the architecture, just to balance out what I had done on the right hand side. And now I'm using a rubber to lift out again just some of this kind of solidness, if that's a word, of those ripples. I just want to create again more of a connection across the page, more continuity across the page, and using the rubber is just helping me to do that and helping me to finish this page. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.